Hey everyone, it's TJ back with Totally Pointless, and today we're diving into one of the most shocking and heartbreaking stories to ever make headlines. This is the tragic story of Shannan Watts, her two daughters, and the man who took their lives, her husband, Chris Watts. Now, in this episode, we'll look at how their story started and what went wrong, and the unspeakable events that followed. Make sure you stick with me for the next few minutes as we walk through the details, the chilling moments, and of course, the aftermath of the case that still haunts the public to this day.
Hey guys, good morning, or I know for Colorado people it's good morning, good afternoon for everybody else. I wanted to come here live because today is the big day for the huge. Our cocktail party is tonight where Product X is going to be released. We're super excited. We're heading to the pool right now, and then we have a massage today paid for by Lavelle. Today at 3:30. So Chris and I are super excited. So we're going to get a massage after we lay by the pool for a little bit and maybe go to the beach again. And then we're going to go to the cocktail party. And we will be live there tonight.
Shanann Watts was born on January the 10th, 1984, in the small town of Schilling, New Jersey. She grew up in a loving family with two sisters, Jamie and Amanda, and was described by her family as a sweet and caring individual. Shanann's parents, Frank and Sandra, provided a supportive home environment for their children, although, like many families, they faced their share of challenges. Growing up, Shanann was known for her friendly personality and sense of humor. As a child, she enjoyed spending time outdoors and was involved in cheerleading and other school activities. But as Shanann grew older, she struggled with some personal insecurities, something that would later influence her relationships. In 2003, Shanann moved to North Carolina, where she started college. During this time, she faced a series of personal challenges, including some struggles with weight and body image, but she always worked hard to overcome them. By 2008, she was living in Colorado, where her story would take a dramatic turn. In 2010, Shanann met Chris Watts, a man who would eventually become her husband. Chris was originally from Spring Lake, North Carolina, but had relocated to Colorado to work in the oil and gas industry. Chris was charming, hardworking, and seemed like the perfect match for Shanann. He was tall, handsome, and had a quiet yet likable demeanor. The two quickly fell in love and began dating seriously. Shanann's family was supportive of the relationship, and she soon introduced Chris to her family. In 2012, after 2 years of dating, Shanann and Chris got engaged. The proposal was romantic, and they began planning their life together. Shanann and Chris married on November 3rd, 2012, in a small but beautiful ceremony. After their wedding, they settled in Frederick, Colorado, a suburban area about 30 miles outside of Denver. Shanann was excited about their new life and their future together, and they started building their family. In December 2013, Shanann and Chris welcomed their first child, a daughter named Bella Marie Watts. She was followed by another daughter, Celeste Cece Watts, born in July 2015. The family seemed to be living the picture perfect suburban life, while Shanann staying home to raise the girls, while Chris worked full time as an operator in the oil industry. In the years that followed, Shanann became deeply invested in her social media presence, documenting her life and their family for friends and followers. On Instagram and Facebook, she often shared pictures of their children, family trips, and moments with Chris, presenting an image of a happy and growing family. But beneath the surface, their relationship was not as perfect as it seemed. As Shanann and Chris's marriage progressed, things were not as rosy as they appeared. Shanann, who had been so open and vibrant online, began to express some concerns in private conversations with her friends and family. She shared that her relationship with Chris had become strained, with occasional arguments and issues regarding Chris's increasing emotional distance. Shanann also had a history of health problems, including a miscarriage in 2018 that caused her immense grief. Despite her physical and emotional challenges, she tried to keep the family together. But behind closed doors, Chris's behavior was changing. He had started to become distant, sometimes coming home late from work, and was often preoccupied with his job. In early 2018, while still married to Shanann, Chris began an affair with Nicole Kessinger, a woman he met at work. Nicole was a colleague at Anadarko Petroleum, where Chris worked. Their relationship grew quickly, and Chris started confiding in Nicole, telling her things like he was unhappy in his marriage and that he was thinking of separating from Shanann. At that time, I guess nothing was concrete. By June 2018, Chris and Nicole's relationship was escalating. Chris would later reveal that he had grown dissatisfied with Shanann, which ultimately led him to seek out another relationship. During this time, Shanann was unaware of the affair, continuing to manage her life with her children and trying to mend the cracks in her marriage, all while being pregnant with their son to be Nico. While Shanann was dealing with her life, Chris was clearly living a separate life that, well, we don't know. Did Nicole know what was going to happen? Did she not? We don't know. Early that morning, Shanann returned home from a business trip to Arizona, where she had been promoting a company called Thrive. She came back to a home in disarray, as Chris had been unusually distant, but there was still hope for reconciliation. After a conversation that involved Shanann confronting Chris about his emotional distance, things quickly spiraled. According to Chris's confession during an argument, he murdered Shanann by strangulation in the bedroom. Afterward, he disposed of her body, placing it in his truck. In an even more horrifying turn of events, Chris then went on to murder their two young daughters, Bella and Celeste. He smothered them with a blanket and loaded their bodies into his truck. Later that day, he took their bodies to an oil field where he worked and disposed of them in the tanks. On August 13th, Shanann was reported missing by her friends and family when they couldn't reach her. It wasn't until Chris's behavior started raising suspicions that the police began their investigation into his involvement. Chris initially told authorities that he had no idea where Shanann and the girls were, but after further questioning, he admitted to his horrific crimes. Chris initially told authorities that he had no idea where Shanann and the girls were, but after further questioning, he admitted to his horrific crimes. Chris was arrested on August 15th, 2018, and charged with 3 counts of murder, 2 counts of murder of a child under 12, and additional charges of unlawful termination of a pregnancy for the death of his unborn son, whom Shanann was carrying at the time. His name was Nico. Chris's confession came in a chilling series of interviews where he initially lied about his involvement and then eventually admitted to killing Shanann and the children. That was after he had failed a polygraph test. His motive was believed to be driven by his desire to be with Nicole Kissinger, whom he had grown emotionally attached to. On November 6th, 2018, Chris Watts was sentenced to 5 consecutive life terms in prison without the possibility of parole. His crimes shocked the world, and he became a symbol of how a seemingly perfect family life can turn dark behind closed doors. As of today, Chris remains incarcerated at the Dodge Correctional Institution in Wisconsin. He has participated in interviews and has shown little remorse for his actions. He's been in the media spotlight since his arrest, with documentaries, interviews, and podcasts continuing to explore the Watts family tragedy.
And he only knew me at that time. He knew me at my worst, and he accepted me. And, you know, through your vows, like through sickness and everything, he's been there. He was the one that let me lay on him and fall asleep for 3.5 hours on his lap while he had to pee. He is the best thing that has ever happened to me.
And that's all for today's episode of Totally Pointless. The story of Shannan, Bella, Celeste, and Nico Watts is one of the most haunting and tragic stories of our time. Let's remember them, reflect on the warning signs of domestic abuse, and learn from the past to help protect the future. Thanks for listening, everyone. Until next time, stay safe and take care of one another.